Hello, I'm Johannes. I'm working for Mesosphere. We are building DCOS, the Data Center Operating System, and we're trying to build a platform to operate containers together with your big data and fast data applications. But you can also run your traditional databases having persistent storage.
Super. And what was your session about? Did you have anything about DCOS and Container 2.0 and how it wants to take Container 2.0 to the next level, let's say?
Yeah, so our session was about Container 2.0, and we focused on the data part. So it is really easy to scale out containers when they are stateless. But when it comes to a point where you have data, so you have mission-critical data, you need to take care that these data are stored. And it doesn't matter if you have big data applications or if you have your traditional databases like MariaDB or PostgreSDB or something. You want to make sure that these data are stored forever, or as long as your business needs to use these data. And we're offering with Container 2.0 a space for running stateless containers together with these kind of data services. And yeah, that was a session about it. We showed how to do this with DCOS, and it's really easy to keep it running and to start these kind of applications.
You also mentioned something about creating a new standard with the other big players. So would you like to comment on that, explain a bit?
Yeah, so the question was about what we do for standards for storage. So like we did in the past with CNI, so the Common Network Interface for defining a standard for container networks. Oh, it's Container Network Interface, but okay. We did the same for storage now. So all the big players, so Docker and the Kubernetes guys and us, are talking about defining an interface to enable third-party container storage providers to offer their services, and you can connect from DCOS and from Kubernetes or directly from Docker to these kind of storage providers, and they don't care which client they have, they can all connect to their services. So we're defining these kind of standards for storage currently.
And how did you reach the conclusion that it was needed? Did you have a talk together, or did you just realize that you have a common problem, for example?
Yeah, so like I said before, we have customers facing the problem that they want to have persistent data in this highly dynamic world of scheduling containers all over the place. And it's not us only having this problem, so all customers having these problems, and they are having a problem on using only Docker or using Kubernetes or using DCOS, all have the problem of storing data and persisting data for long term, and make them aware of node failures or task failures so that the data survive even if the tasks, the containers are gone. So so a bunch of people had those problems, and other people wanted to offer services to store data, so they was a usual conclusion to work together to make a standardized API for that.
And how did you solve problems before that, before coming with?
So a bunch of people solve the problems in their own way. So we have, DCOS have an API for doing storage, so you can configure your storage providers in DCOS in the DCOS way, and you can, in Kubernetes, you can configure your storage providers in the Kubernetes way. So there are a bunch of individual solutions, but it makes hard for the providers of storage to offer APIs for these different kind of applications. So it's for all, so even for us as distributor of the platform and for the storage provider, it's more easy if we have one API and it's reliable and it covers all use cases. And so as the conclusion to work, all parties work together to get these standard up and running.
Cool. And what's next for DCOS?
Yes. Currently, we introduced 1.9 I think a week ago or 2 weeks. It was a big release covering pods. So you're now able in DCOS to run co-located containers that you can have your main container and put some side containers around that to do message brokering to reduce like back pressure or doing logging synchronization to other services. So this is what we are introduced in the past, and now we're planning the next release, and we're trying to make the experience even better for developers and for operators and all this stuff. And I don't think that the time, so the planning is finished yet. So, but we have awesome features on the roadmap. So.
Is it also a major release or just a smaller one? What should people expect?
Yeah, so we're planning the 1.10 release, which is a major release, having new features. And so we're trying to, on Marathon side, so I'm working at this container orchestration part, we're trying to make the experience for these data services so more user-friendly. So what we're doing, we're starting schedulers for these data services like Kafka, Spark, and so on. And what you currently need to do, you go for, we're starting these schedulers from Marathon. So Marathon container operations take care that these schedulers are working and are up and running always. And these services then take care that Cassandra is running and that you have enough Cassandra resources and so on. But currently you need to jump to the other UI, to Cassandra UI, to do the operation there. But we're currently trying to uniform the UI and the API to have one point where you say, I want to have Cassandra, I want to have 20 instances, and I want to have them run forever. And not these bridge to like jump to the other UI and do there or the other API. So we want to uniform that and make the user experience better at that point.
Cool. And last but not least, what is the opportunity containers offer? For example, from a developer's point of view, what is that one area where containers really make the difference? Yeah,
so let's tell a short story. So we were at another conference last week, and we had this story about how to bring your application from local development to a big cluster. And the usual demo is like starting MySQL locally, starting Spring Boot locally, so the first step, and then go to containers, then go to Compose, and then go to DCOS. And I don't know what happened to my laptop, but it didn't want to start these services locally. So it throwed exceptions all over the place and was not able to boot. And this was, and I then said, okay, that's a bad experience. Maybe we just move to containers. And I said, Docker Compose app, and everything worked. So what I want to say is, Docker or container make things reliable. So you have immutable containers in the best place where you don't have side effects, and you can just start them wherever you want. You can share them on Docker Hub or other registries, and you can rely that these things boot always the same and do always the same stuff. And if they fail, it's no problem, because you just start a replacement container doing exactly the same stuff without side effects somewhere else. And that saved our presentation at that point, and that saves production in some other points. So it's a win-win situation for all of us.
Thank you for the example and for the interview, and have a nice conference.
Yeah, thank you.